Welcome to another Montessori Moments. I know it's been a while since I was last on here, and I wanted to make a video about something you might have been wondering about but haven't really looked into, and that is gender differences. Gender is not simply a matter of physical differences in the sexes. It is actually a brain difference as well. And it's really amazing the neuroimaging that we now have that allows us to see how much detail in the brain there is and how that differences can be spotted from things like dyslexia, ADHD, Down syndrome, autism, all of these different things. But what about the typical brain in the average person and the ways that we vary from even person to person? So we can also see brain differences in genders. So male brains use 7 times more gray matter and female brains about 10 times more white matter than the opposite sexes. And there are multiple gray matter areas around the brain. And these are kind of like the information processing centers in each area of the brain. I actually have, a kind of simple diagram of the brain. And so the gray matter is all through the brain, and it is what is kind of the processing. It is the matter in between that kind of gives those synapses the jump that they need to get from place to place. It's kind of what the synapsi travel through as they're going to the different brain cells. And so these information and processing matter in the brain. Heavy use of this can kind of lead to tunnel vision. So when someone is highly engaged in something and they don't want to leave it, they can become insensitive to other people and to their surroundings because they have tunnel vision. You see that a lot in things like video games, someone who gets very engrossed with a video game, and they can be kind of off-putting and rude to people who try and interrupt that. So male and female brains process all the same neurochemicals, but not in the same way or at the same levels. Males tend to have less serotonin, which is what helps us stay calm and sit still for long periods of time, but more testosterone, which can lead to more aggression, and less oxytocin, which is the chemical essential for bonding and relationships. So how do we work with children, generally boys, who work mainly in the gray matter and lack the chemical for a lot of control and relationship building? So first off, we name and validate feelings and emotions, and then we work through what to do with that emotion. Secondly, we give boys jobs that encourage nurturing, such as helping a younger child or taking care of pets or helping out around the house and with siblings. Next, look and talk about situations from multiple perspectives. A great way is to read alternative fairy tales that look at different points of view, and for older children to think of a character's perspective in a story who was seen as a villain and look at that and maybe why they were acting in that way. Also, have a finish later space available for different projects, such as a big building project. A small rug, such as those used in a Montessori classroom, allows a project to be pulled out of the way, but keeps everything together in one place with the promise that when you are through with dinner or come home from school, that the child can keep working on that project. Also, it's important to have a calm down routine. That can be breathing, that can be yoga, that can be count to 10. You need to have a calm down routine in place so that your child knows what to do and go through the steps. And of course, they're not going to know or remember it right away, but that's why you work together so that as the child gets older, they start to work through those routines on their own. White matter is everything in between the gray matter. It's the connective tissue linking the different parts of the brain. So people who use more white matter are better at transitions between tasks and multitasking. but they can also leave things unfinished, and they do not entirely analyze a situation all the time. So how do we work with children, generally girls, who use more white matter in their brains? Because white matter use generates more blood flow to the brain, females absorb more information sensorially. And they also tend to have a larger hippocampus, which allows for more memory retention. So first off, let's use teaching methods that are multi-sensory, such as drawing letters in sand, using songs to teach, counting physical objects. There are many ways that we can add sensory into learning. Number 2, allow exploration of messy things. I know there's that old stereotype, girls shouldn't get dirty. Oh no, please get dirty. Explore those things. It's really, really good. Not just for the connections that it builds in the brain, but it also allows a freedom in childhood that really needs to be experienced. Also encourage connections with close friends, but also making new friends. Ask a lot of questions about a child's day, and encourage independence, and talk about how mistakes make our brains grow. Because often, girls tend to be a little harder on themselves, where, it wasn't just right or it wasn't perfect. But, we really need to encourage growth versus perfection. You may have noticed that girls gain language skills faster than boys, and this is due to the fact that females have verbal centers on both sides of their brains versus boys who have it on their left side. Girls also connect these to the memory center of the brain, leading to thinking about memories and emotions more often. This can be both a positive and a negative. Boys tend to think of a memory briefly and may or may not connect it with a feeling before moving on. The neural pathways that are formed when children are in formidable years, 0 to 6, set the road for future learning. There are many things that can be done to encourage the synapsi to build, strengthen, and cross-connect. 1, teach a second language. 2, look at pictures of past events and connect it to feelings. Look how much fun we had on that trip to the lake. Do you remember? 3, use a lot of vocabulary, including prepositions, verbs, lots of adjectives. Parents tend to focus on nouns like dog, cow, banana. So we need to add those things in there, like look at the yellow banana. Look at the dog on the rock. So we're adding in those other really essential vocabulary terms. Scientists have found many differences in the brain between the genders, and we must remember to work with each child as individuals and not make comparisons. Every brain is different and develops at their own rate. Watch for signs of what needs nurturing within your child, and then find ways to meet those needs. And as always, the staff here at MOLO is here to answer any questions or give suggestions for you on that. When we do our next 3 Montessori moments, we're actually going to delve into more about the brain, the parts of the brain, and what the function of those parts are. So I hope that I will see you soon back here on Montessori Moments.